sat in a chair by the window under the moon and cried and cried and cried. And I just knew something was wrong. That's all I can say. I just knew that something was terribly wrong. I cried for a couple of weeks. And, you know, I was told, oh, this is normal. This is the baby blues. You're going to be okay. But I knew that's not what it was. I had had a baby already. This was deep and raw and real. And it felt like a warning, and it felt like a promise, and it felt like a lot of things that just hurt. By the way, I would much later, I'm going to digress for just a minute, I would much later find out after hurting my knee and my back and having an x-ray that I had indeed, in that car accident, broken my pelvis in several places. It healed itself, but it sure was painful. I go through this weepy thing, and I notice when she's a baby that her breathing is off, that every once in a while she just stops breathing. She'll like hold her breath. So when I went to see the pediatrician, I said, this is a weird thing. The pediatrician kind of patted my shoulder and said, Mom, babies, you know, do what they do, and you need to relax a little bit, and maybe the best thing for this is not to watch her breathe. She's healthy, she's normal, everything's okay. And I slept right next to her and listened to her breathe, and I would wake up 4 or 5 times a night and shake her awake to breathe. I didn't know anything about sleep apnea at that time. I didn't know anything. I just depended on what I was being told at a 15-minute well baby exam. And later on, she would get sick a lot, and she would cough a lot. They told us she had asthma, and I had asthma, so I get that, but that's not how my asthma worked. I would get wheezy and allergies and all that kind of stuff, and I knew when it was happening, but gave me some medication for that, sent us on our way, and it would just never go away. She'd randomly just kind of vomit for no reason. She coughed and choked a lot on food. She went to school. She was often sick, and the apnea got worse. And they said it was because she had enlarged tonsils and adenoids, so they needed to take them out. That didn't help. Things just got worse. And this went on and on and on, and I would be taking her to the doctor, and I was just getting this kind of the same vibe, you know, like, you worry too much. And my husband would say, you worry too much. And I wasn't in a place in my life where I felt confident enough to advocate in a way that I should have for me and for her. I just kept thinking, maybe there's just something wrong with me. Maybe, you know, I've got that weird Munchausen thing. Maybe I'm trying to make her sick. I don't know, you know. And so I just listened, and I just tried to not make a big deal out of things when they happened. It was time for her to get braces. Our orthodontist said, my goodness, what is going on in this kid's mouth? I have never seen a mouth like this except for kids who have cerebral palsy. There's something going on here. You need to go see somebody about this. This is weird. He'd always question me about it, the way her teeth were formed. She had a tongue thrust. It was just weird. And the choking and the vomiting got worse. She'd start vomiting every morning at school, throw up in the garbage can. Became part of her life. I took her to the pediatrician and said, what is going on? And they said, you know, she's an overachiever. She was, and she's got a nervous stomach. That's because she's, you know, kind of doing it to herself, basically. And we went on and on and on with this, with pulmonologists and this and that, and oh my goodness. Started telling me she had sleep apnea that was caused from weight, and the weight was caused from the steroids that they were giving her for the asthma, and we had to get her more exercise. It just wasn't something she could do. I mean, it was almost physically impossible. And they made us believe that we needed to push her harder, you know, that a lot of kids in this country are obese, and she's gonna get obese if we don't get her fit. So we put her on the swim team, which she actually loved. She did not do well, but she loved it. And right before meet, a bunch of kids went to a neighbor's house, a friend of ours, to go swimming. They were painting their nails green because they were the green gators, and they were getting themselves all psyched up for the big swim meet and having a good time, and I got a phone call that my daughter had passed out while swimming and had died in the pool, and that I needed to come quickly. At the time, I had broken my foot. I'd just gotten my cast off and I was in a moon boot, and I had a crawling baby. I just picked him up. He was just in a diaper. I had no shoes on. I had taken my moon boot off to relax, and I just ran to my neighbor's house, which was about half a mile away, and I could hear the ambulance coming, and I was just screaming, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. I'm on my way, I'm on my way. Wait for me, wait for me. By the time that I arrived, the friend's house that she was at, the husband had come out and given her CPR and revived her. Paramedics were there and took her by ambulance to the hospital. Keep her there, even though they didn't see any water in her lungs and she was okay. They were worried about dry drowning, and so we had to wait and see what was going to happen. They can't explain why she lost consciousness. She said she was just swimming laps and passed out. So she had I think it was a bronchoscopy first and then a CAT scan. And we were told that she had a brain tumor in her brainstem. And this brain tumor had been there a really long time. And having a brain tumor in the part of her brain that she did, it was putting pressure on her craniofacial muscles, and it was causing all of this. Her tongue thrust, her breathing, her apnea, her hypoxia, her syncope, all of it was being caused by the pressure on those craniofacial nerves. It was just 13 years of waiting for somebody to find it. It was ridiculous. And I remember the pulmonologist saying, this is the most circuitous route to a simple diagnosis that I have ever seen. And a lot of people dropped the ball. And going after them and suing people and doing all of that. And believe me, they were afraid we were. They did everything to try to let us know that they were sorry and they were waiting for it. And I didn't. I couldn't. Because I would be taking time away from my kid to go after these people. And getting money from them wasn't going to fix my kid. I believe in my heart that the people who failed her became better doctors, especially our pediatrician. I'm guessing she's never going to miss a brain tumor diagnosis again, ever. I'm guessing more kids are going to get CT scans and MRIs than they should have because of it. And I just had to let that go. And I know for some people that might not seem like the route they would have gone. But unless you're there, you can't know, and we all deal with things a little differently. It was really, really hard, and it was really, really scary, and she had to have brain surgery, and I was in a hurry to get that done. I just wanted it out. I just wanted somebody to make it go away. We had two choices for neurosurgeons. One of them was on vacation, and the other one was available right away. He was a very nice guy, conservative approach, young, kind of a rock star in his field, up and coming pediatric neurosurgeon. And it seemed like that's the way to go. And so we did. We didn't wait for the second opinion because we were so afraid. And it was at a children's hospital, so that was a plus. So we gave it the thumbs up and we had her surgery done. And he was unable to get all of the tumor. He didn't even try. He said that he was afraid to remove the whole thing, thinking that if he did, he would permanently damage her brainstem and cause her to die, or cause her to have deficits that would be permanent and would take away from the quality of her life. So that was the decision he made while he was in there, that he would just debulk as much of it as he could, and leave the little bit and just try to keep that small. Take a piece of that while they're still in surgery and send it off to pathology and kind of get a quick look at what they think it might be. That doesn't mean 100% that's what it is, but just kind of a, what do you think this is kind of thing, and then later on they send it for better pathology, and it came back as a grade 1 tumor. So he thought, well, here we have a small bit of a grade 1 tumor. If we have to go in there, if it grows, we'll have to go in there and just take some more out. But probably with some radiation, we can kill it and shrink it and be done, and this kid's going to be okay. And so we felt that was great news. and we moved on with our lives. We had to get radiation therapy. Our insurance only covered it for one place, and it wasn't a place that specialized in pediatric radiation therapy. It was a place that mostly took care of people that had breast cancer, honestly. And I kind of fought and fought and fought for better radiation therapy. And I got a second opinion with the surgeon, the neurosurgeon, who had been on vacation when she had her surgery. And he said he wished he'd been the one to go in there and get that tumor because he'd have taken the whole thing out. And part of me thought, well, maybe it's best we didn't go with him. He said, you know, as sure as you're going to cross the street, that tumor's going to try to grow back. And there's a very, very, very small chance, like a 3% chance, that that radiation's going to cause harm. So if it's his kid, he would go ahead and do the radiation. And then when we went in for her first radiation appointment, they wanted me to sign, you know, the paperwork. And I had a moment where I froze, and there was some little thing in my head that said, do not sign this paper. Do not do this to your kid. And I had to push it down. You have a second opinion that says you could do it. This radiation oncologist says he can do it. You don't want this tumor to grow back and for her to die in her sleep. You're afraid. You need to not be afraid, and you need to make sure that your daughter gets the best treatment that she can. That's what's happening. So, you know, buckle up, Buttercup, sign that paper, put a smile on your face, and get that kid some radiation. So I did, and it turned out to be the biggest mistake I ever made in my entire life. And I'm gonna put these babies in the oven and cook them, and I'm feeling a little bummed out right now. I think this might be good for me, but I'm not sure it's gonna be good for other people. This is kind of a sad thing, and I don't want anybody to be sad for me, but if you can take something from this story, great. If not, it's okay. Okay, we'll have videos that aren't sad later. I think these Make-A-Wish baby videos are going to be a little bit sad. Yeah, but I don't want to end there like all yucky. Let me say that that whole thing was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and it's obviously definitely the hardest thing my daughter ever had to do in her life. But there was beauty in it too. There was a lot of beauty in it. I have a lot of gratitude that I got to spend 19 years with the person I loved most in the entire world, my very best friend. And I don't think it was any accident that she was born to me. I'm grateful every single day of my life that I had those years. I've never loved anybody that much, and I never will. Not everybody gets to have that in their life, and I'm grateful I did. So now I'm getting weepy, so I'm gonna cook babies. I'm gonna put myself to bed because I think it's about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I will come back tomorrow and I will tell you more of that story. And I will paint some babies. And yeah.